Well, I don't know if they've replaced the group. I mean, obviously, during the years from like 2006 through 2008 or 9, rock performance games were the focus of the attention of music games, and that's not so much true anymore. I think now really a lot of the energy and focus in the marketplace is around dance games, and so, of course, Harmonix is very happy that we're, creating this franchise now that we feel great about. Dance Central, this is still a very young experience, and we expect to be continuing to push Dance Central forward for many years. And actually, we remain committed to the Rock Band franchise as well, and we still intend to take the Rock Band franchise in some fundamentally new directions. And I think the main thing is, the music genre will always be there. Music games will always be there just because music will always be there, and music is like a fundamental part of who we are as human beings. But at the same time, we need to be continuously innovating and continuously bringing some fundamentally new kinds of music play. So I think a big part of Harmonix's responsibility is to create fundamentally new kinds of music play experiences to keep moving the genre forward. Well, as you said, Harmonix was developing music games for many years before Guitar Hero, and many of those games were critically successful but not commercially successful. I think in each one of our earlier games, like Frequency or Amplitude or Karaoke Revolution, there was some ingredient that was successful, but none of those games combined the complete package. And I think when we developed Guitar Hero, that was the first time that the game contained the complete package of addictive gameplay and mass market accessibility and some other ingredients, and that made the genre explode in the subsequent years. I think that now that the mainstream audience in the West understands music games, which they didn't really before 2005. Now that music games are on the radar, like in the minds of American and European consumers, I think the genre will be a major genre of games basically forever, just because, as I said, music is a core part of human beings and what they are. And so I think that in terms of Harmonix's role, our responsibility is just to always be making the newest games or the freshest games, or just continually reinventing the genre, because if the genre will persist for a long time, it has to continually be reinvented. Well, in Japan, music games became a mainstream category a long time ago, actually, in the late 90s, with games like Paraparapa or even Dance Dance Revolution. But in the West, they were very niche games. Not so many people played those. The big hits in Japan were not so commercially successful in the Western markets. So in the Western markets, a lot of these games and Harmonix's early games were just tiny niche products, and it wasn't until Guitar Hero when everything exploded in the West. Yeah, I think that in large part, part of it was just that there was a certain amount of fad element to it, that suddenly pop culture, there was all this attention on those games and everyone was buying them and everyone was playing them at the same time. Subsequently, the mainstream audience turned their attention to new things. There's a core audience that remains very committed, and in fact, the Rock Band business is still a very vibrant and profitable business for us. It's just a much smaller size, serving a core. And I think one of the reasons that the band game business is not as big as it used to be is in part that the core play experience hasn't evolved that much. And I think that what the mainstream audience needs is, as I said, this kind of constant evolution or constant reinvention to keep something fresh, to keep the novelty element to it. In general, our focus on the music for those games has been in the areas where we were focused on, obviously, the largest commercial markets for those games, like the U.S. or in some European markets. Speaking as a music fan myself, I personally love Brazilian music, and I would love to see Brazilian music find its way into our games. In particular, Dance Central is a fantastic opportunity, I think, for Brazilian music, because the Brazilian people have amazing dance music and are great dancers themselves. So with Dance Central 2, strategy is to offer regional music by downloadable content into various territories. And so I would love to find some great Brazilian dance music to release for Dance Central 2. It's hard to say because my interest in music is very diverse. So I love rock music and a lot of both classic and modern rock, and I actually play some rock drums, just amateur. But I was trained as a classical composer, and I play Balinese gamelan music, like a percussion orchestra music. I love Brazilian music with bossa and samba and tropicalia and Brazilian pop, so really kind of everything all over the map. Yeah, actually harmonics, I mean, in parallel with our big console projects, we have several console development projects underway. There's growing interest in harmonics in the possibility of handheld experiences. So VidRhythm was really our first in-house effort to develop something for iOS, but actually we have creative ambitions to do much more in that space. Yeah, developing the Beatles rock band was an amazing, once-in-a-lifetime kind of experience, largely because, you know, Sir Paul McCartney and Ringo were directly involved in the project, and then also Danny Harrison and Olivia Harrison, the family of George Harrison, also Yoko Ono. All of them were very much creatively involved in the making of the game, and you know, an opportunity to work with them directly, as I said, that's like once in a lifetime. So it was kind of a dream project for all of us who have loved the Beatles music our whole lives. We don't have any specific plans for further songs, but you know, anything is possible. Well, it's difficult to choose one, but speaking as someone who spent many years of his, high school, his formative years of his life listening to classic rock, I guess I would have to say either Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd. Well, the main thing is, playing music and dancing to music. These are some of the most profoundly pleasurable experiences that life has to offer. And I would just encourage all the Brazilian music fans who haven't played these games, try them, because it's incredible fun, and the Brazilians are such musical people. There's a great potential marriage here. I would have to say the example that you mentioned. I'm a huge South Park fan. I have always, ever since the show started, I've been a huge South Park fan. So the day that I saw Rock Band appear in a South Park episode, I almost got teary-eyed because it was such an honor to appear in the episode of that show.